listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Project Runway After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Project Runway After Show.
Hey guys, Bing is for doing, and here at AFTERBUZZ TV we are doing another Project Runway All-Stars Season 2, Episode 10, and tonight with me, as always, is Cougar.
Why, hello, Miss Virginia.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm pretty awesome tonight. It's just the two of us.
It is, it is. The other two girls, Alina and Lo, they're a little bit busy tonight, and we miss them,
we
but
miss them very much.
We're back.
I know.
I'm back. I had a nice long vacation.
And
so
we missed you last week.
I missed you guys.
It's just
No,
not the
2
same.
weeks.
Oh, the last 2 weeks,
There
that's
was
right.
2 weeks because
Yeah.
I flew in on a Thursday and out on a Thursday.
We really have to catch you up on a lot that's gone on in Project
know.
Runway Land.
I was sad to see that Eyebrows was gone.
No, were you really sad to see? And
No.
when we say eyebrows, we're talking about Laura Kathleen.
We are.
And everybody knows that I hate eyebrows. How did you feel about her?
I was not a fan either.
You're not a fan, so
She
you're
was
pretty happy
just
she's
a
gone.
little too hoity-toity for me.
Very true. And we are down to the final 4. That means we lost one last week. Ivy was gone. Not a big surprise.
Wah,
Wah, wah. And I'm so glad that she was out. So our final 4 for this episode was Josh McKinley, Uli, Emilio, and Anthony Ryan.
Yep, and I love most of them, so I was happy to see they were still there.
All right. All right.
So, we were talking about, they kind of did a recap, and as we were watching it, we were talking about how wonderful these prizes are that they're getting this season, as
my
opposed
God.
to all the other seasons.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I
do
don't
you know what they do for like normal Project One Day Prize? I can't remember.
Typically, it's $100,000, and then and that's to create your own, workroom, that sort of thing. But this time they're getting $150,000 cash, plus they get to go to all of the different fashion weeks, which is insane. I would be excited to go to one, and they're going to Milan, Paris, London, New York. Which one would you prefer to go to? Just out of
if I was going to
curiosity.
go, I'd Paris.
Yeah, for sure.
Go big or go home.
Exactly.
I've always my one big bucket list item is to sit next to Anna Wintour at a Chanel show before Karl Lagerfeld kicks the bucket.
Well, actually, I saw something the other day on Perez that she was in Houston, Texas. Somebody snapped her at like a grocery store.
No.
And I was just there, and I was like, "What in the world? Like, how is?"
What would Anna Wintour be doing in Houston, Texas?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who knew she ever left? New York to go to Texas of all places. So.
Exactly. So the other thing that they get to do is for the entire year they are contributing editor of Marie Claire.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this because it's so surprising. We're down to the final 4. Kind of what we talked about last week was that 2 of the final 4 are like obvious choices. Anthony Ryan and Uli. They're just their talent is it's never questionable. Maybe a little bit this episode, but
maybe
usually it's pretty much there. Josh McKinley and Emilio. We were thinking that those 2 would just be fillers from now on, but the fact that you've had 2 amazing all-stars like Anthony Ryan and Uli that have just they've taken this season by storm, to have that huge of a prize and have such little competition is really, really odd.
Well, and the thing that I'm trying to think, these packages that these winners get, they just keep getting bigger and better. And I'm wondering, is it because, you see them and they win all this stuff, but then you never hear about them again.
Ever, yeah.
And so I'm thinking with integrating them into Marie Claire, you would hear about them every month. So
Keeping
it kind of keeps
Fashion
them
Week.
At Fashion Week. So it keeps them in the public eye so that they become an actual success, because I cannot think of really one Project Runway person that I've really heard of anything.
Yeah, that's still out there.
But I mean, there are so many designers, and it takes, a lot of time to build your brand.
Of course.
Unless you have, like Marchesa has, that big backer of financial behind them.
Right.
But I definitely think it's just another way that they can help, and it only helps Project Runway by them, their winners being successful.
Sure.
So I definitely think that's a really interesting prize that they have, and I'm really excited to see, January 24th when the next episode or next season of Project Runway comes out, if they're going to have something as good or if it's going to go back to kind of the same.
Yeah, and you guys will see us here on AfterBuzz recapping all of Project Runway. What is it, season 12?
I think it'll be season 12.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Anyways.
I'm excited to see Heidi back.
Yeah. So what was the challenge?
Okay, so the challenge was actually called All Stars and Stripes, and they paired each designer with a retired veteran. So they came from, we had Anthony Ryan was with Donna, who was an Air Force captain. We had Josh McKinley with an Army captain, Leslie Smith. Emilio was partnered with Lisa from the Navy, and Uli got Jessica, who was a Marine. So it also showed all of the different services that they had been in, and all of them had actually served overseas at some point, except for, no, they all did.
Yeah.
And so they kind of got to have that relationship with them. And I love seeing these kind of challenges because you get to see them bond with people, and you kind of really get to see their character. As we've seen with previous seasons, sometimes it's a flop and they're really mean to people, but I felt like everybody really connected with their person. What did you think?
I thought that you could tell that each of the designers from the beginning was really excited about this because they were, giving back to not only to the armed services and kind of honoring our veterans out there, but it was for wounded, or not wounded women. There was some sort of project that they were working with these particular women. The women vets were great, and they were all real women, and I think that I love the fact that they had to design clothes for a real woman instead of their normal models, which always throws, I think, a little bit of a monkey wrench in for some of these designers having to do something that's not so, tall and lanky and model shaped.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, it was exciting.
Well, and it was really cool because they also had a specific event that they were designing for.
Sure.
And so, and they go into those details and they kind of get to describe, what they want to look like. And it is like working with real clients as opposed to, just like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is who I am. And let's throw it on the runway type of thing. So it was cool that they had to think of so many different factors to go into it.
So they bonded with these 4 women. What events were they going to?
So Josh McKinley's person she was going to the Air Force ball or an Air Force event, and
Army.
Army.
She's an Army woman.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote that right under it. Army. And she was the one that she had a prosthetic leg, and it was due to an illness that she got
a blood clot. And she almost died. It was from what they were talking about on the show, within minutes of death. This woman, and she had to basically say goodbye to her entire family. They amputated right below, I think, the knee, and some, that saved her.
And it's crazy when these things happen because, I used to work with the Air Force, and a similar situation happened to a friend of mine. He got a staph infection in his knee, and within 16 hours, his whole calf had gotten so big that he couldn't pull his BDU up over his calf. And they put him right away, and they were like, we might have to amputate your leg right now or you could die within the next 24 hours. And it was so crazy because my mom was there and she kept telling him, oh, you might want to go get that looked at, and we were like, what are you talking about? And it kept going. So he went to the ER, and just like that, they were like, if you don't get this checked out, and they actually had to cut out a whole bunch of his knee, and they had to pack it. But it's just insane the things that can happen just instantly, that you don't really think of.
So she was a great story.
She was a great story, and she had her dog, which was adorable.
And there was another added layer of the story there because Josh's brother had served in Afghanistan twice, so he really felt that personal connection, with this particular challenge.
Right.
What other events did we have?
So then we also had Anthony Ryan, who was doing Donna's 40th birthday, and she was the one that said, she wanted to be a little bit more covered because she was a little bit bustier. Then we had Emilio, who was doing Lisa from the Navies for a bachelorette party in Vegas. And I was so sad when she was like, I don't want it to be glitzy. I don't want to be, and it's like, it's Vegas. You want to be, I mean, everybody else there.
I did not expect that at all. She's like, oh, we're going to a bachelorette party in Vegas. Don't make me into a hooker.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
but
let's keep the sparkles to a minimum. Yeah, I know. That's where you want sparkles.
Exactly. So I was a little bummed about that. And then we had Uli, who was paired with Jessica, who had a super cute figure, and she was going to a wedding.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said, she liked Uli's dress and everything, I was like, well, man, Uli gets the easiest challenges every time.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a great designer, but it's kind of like, okay, well, that was a no-brainer for her. Just make a dress. Like, do her thing, basically.
I didn't know, because we hadn't gotten that far in the episode yet. I didn't know if she was actually going to make a dress that was just like the one she was wearing, or if she might try to go off on her own. But Uli plays it safe, and when she plays it safe, she does really well.
Well, and it's smart. It's exactly what the client asked for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that as a shopper, if you see something you like and then you get it, it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the way that she really, excelled with this.
And that was supposed to be a big part of this particular challenge, was getting to know each individual woman and how well the designer really listened to them, bonded with them, and then turned their desires into something that they could wear to their events.
Exactly, because they wanted to feel like, special, and that's exactly what it was for. Yeah. So they actually got $150 to shop when they went to Mood,
which is incredible because they're having to create these looks for all sorts of different events. And you have to make a dress out of $150.
Exactly. And, right when I saw Emilio's fabric choice, I was like, what is he going to do with all of that yellow? I mean, I don't know. I loved the flowy fabric that Uli got, but and which surprised me was Josh McKinley, that crazy print. And she said she wanted print.
She wanted, she really liked leopard, but he was talking about it when they were at Mood. He was like, okay, I'm going to get this, black and white leopard, and maybe I'll dye it. And I was like, no, in my heart, I'm like, no, Josh, you're killing yourself right now.
I thought the same thing. I was in complete agreement. Like, ooh, this could go really bad really quickly. Yeah. And it was.
And Josh hasn't been too hot. Honestly, my prediction for this week would have been that Josh was going home because he hasn't been doing too hot, especially when he tries to, do something a little crazy, like dyeing fabric. How's that going to work with the dye time and everything? Who knows? But so
it was definitely a risk. But, I think that is the positive about him. He does like to take a risk,
sure.
As opposed to like Uli, who just plays it safe.
Uli, we saw again going with the monochromatic scale, black and white. Not a surprise at all.
No.
She just has no, I guess she hates color.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. Or she doesn't hate color because in the previous season she was in, she used a lot of it, but she gets away with these black and white things, mostly white.
Yeah.
And nobody really cares. Nobody.
Well, I think they had other people to critique harsher, so they were kind of like, okay, we'll let it slide. Yeah. It's a pretty dress type of thing, where they have to start sending away the really bad people, and so I think that's why she's gotten away with it. And I mean, they are really pretty dresses.
So. What did you think about Anthony Ryan's pick?
I loved the ombre. I just thought, when he was describing the way that he was going to do it with, putting the darker colors to hide the trouble spots, that makes so much sense to me, because as a woman, when I shop, I'm like, ooh, when it's a black on the out of the waistline, I love that because it automatically makes you look skinnier. And so I was like, he could really do something with this, and it just looked like a really pretty fabric. But then once he started constructing it, I was like, ooh,
something's going on here.
This could be bad. Yeah. And then when we see them in the workroom and, they're starting to scramble, that's when I always get a little bit nervous, because they had them all come in and, they're sitting around like, what's going on with my dress? Josh didn't have anything to even put her in at the time. And she was even kind of, I felt like she was starting to panic. What did you think? Well,
yeah, we got into the workroom. Josh is dyeing his fabric. Anthony Ryan is having sizing issues. Uli is, we see Uli. She's just designing the dress that she was wearing, so it's kind of easy. And then Emilio, he's got some idea of what he's going to construct, and it looks like a very flirty, almost summery dress. No, again, no sparkles. It doesn't really look Vegas, but it's cute what he's got, drawn down. But yeah, and then there's people starting to get a little catty in the workroom, although. I think a couple people said a few negative comments, you know, especially about Anthony Ryan and his direction. But for the most part, what I thought was interesting about this particular episode is that everybody said something nice about each other, didn't they?
They did. And, you know, when we were talking about Emilio's dress, that yellow, I saw the sketch and I was like, oh, okay, that looks like a fun summer dress, I guess. But you know, you do have to think there are people that go to Vegas that don't dress slutty, and not that I always dress slutty when I go to Vegas, but you know, it's like the time you get away with it.
Okay, Virginia, don't lie.
Okay, maybe I do.
Don't lie to our viewers out there.
But you know, it's the one time, that and Halloween, girls, you know, it's the one time you can get away with looking slutty because everybody else is looking slutty.
Yeah.
You know, and so when he's taking that hem down, I was kind of like, is that just not going to be hemmed? I was just so confused the whole time. With that, I
don't know if it was an editing thing. I did pick up on what you were saying about Josh's partner. What was her name? Sorry, I didn't write it down.
Leslie Smith.
Leslie Smith. The way maybe they edited it, it seems like she was a little nervous. He didn't have his dyed garment ready, and he was going with this kind of like flared out skirt that was really cute. But when I saw it on the mannequin, the first thing that came to my mind was not that it wasn't age appropriate at all.
Right. It looked very junior.
Very junior, very like princess party, not like a military ball. Or maybe, I'm sorry, princess party really wouldn't have been because it wasn't billowing. But yeah, it was just kind of like cute party girl because all he had done at that point was the skirt or the waist down. And so I didn't know where that was going to go.
Well, and I think the other thing about it was he hadn't attached the leopard, or maybe he had, but it looked like tulle was coming out of it as opposed to the sheer fabric that you see once the garment is finished. And so I completely was like, what is going to go on?
This is another time where I was like, what's going on? Because he had all that leopard fabric and his whole skirt was black.
Right.
So
and
I didn't know
that threw me for a loop because when she first said leopard, I was thinking this dress is going to be leopard, the whole thing, you know, and then it's completely different. So I think that was a good taste level because it could have been like a slinky leopard dress, and she wasn't that lady. In military, you know, it's like you have to be a little bit more conservative. But I thought the age thing was definitely throwing me off because when I first saw it, I was like, that's for a 15-year-old, and she's like 50. So yeah, I completely agree. And
then when we got down to the time constraint, you know, they did a couple fittings. They had 2 fittings, and then they had an hour to finish up. That's when you really started to see things fall apart. With Anthony Ryan, he didn't fall apart. He wasn't, you know, stressed out. His model, Donna, you know, they were just trying to figure out how to hide her ample bosoms, what kind of, you know, straps, if any, they were going to use. And so that, you know, it was interesting to see kind of what they were playing around with. And Emilio, though, he was the one that really kind of crumpled under pressure, where he pretty much redesigned, I don't know if it was just in that last hour or maybe in the last few hours, he redesigned the whole dress.
Right, and you know, he was talking about how he was going to have to take the whole dress apart and how it would take so much longer. And you know, I feel like sometimes at that point you just have to go with it and make it a little bit better, as opposed to making a completely new dress, because the finished product was so, like, you could just tell the execution wasn't there. Yeah. You know, so I don't know.
Homemade. I think homemade is a word that we're going to hear later in the episode.
I agree. It wasn't that good.
Yeah. And then Uli, you know, there was nothing really to say about Uli because Joanna Coles came in and, you know, she said, "Oh, hey, you're making the same dress that you're wearing."
Exactly. She called her out.
And I thought she was going to go off about that. I was like expecting Joanna to be like, "Wow, you know, this is so uninspired," or, you know, something. And no, she was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Well, you know, and but the good thing was she said that the print was very flattering in the way that she draped it. And I think that is what Uli succeeds in. She knows a woman's body, and she knows how to manipulate the fabric to work with her and to keep it young and fresh every time. And so
she makes these complex designs, so she's able to do something complex and execute it in that short amount of time span that they get, which I think is pretty incredible.
Yeah, because, you know, especially with that dress, when I saw the way that she was going to do it, I was thinking, okay, this girl isn't, I mean, she was small, but she wasn't small-chested. And I was thinking how, like, Uli, I mean, flat-chested women can kind of get away with, you know, the lower back, no bra type of thing. And I'm thinking, for a wedding, is that going to work? But, you know, she put in, as she says later on the runway, she put in that strap to kind of tighten it, which I think really helped. And so she knows how to, you know, manipulate her dresses to fit everybody, which was nice.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, you know what it is? It is the season 4. Well, since we're almost wrapping this up, I want to make sure that everybody, hopefully they're following us on iTunes and they're downloading each of those episodes. That's one thing. And tell all of your friends.
Yes.
You know, we're on AfterBuzz. We're really, really nice people.
We are.
Virginia's particularly really cute. Tell your friends.
Thanks.
Because once we finish this season of Project Runway All-Stars, we're going to go right in, I think on the 23rd or 24th.
24th.
24th to Project Runway, The Real Deal.
Yep.
So make sure that you're downloading these episodes on our iTunes channel, watching us on YouTube, and comments. If you comment, and you know, maybe we should open with this. My Twitter is @CougarTweets. Virginia's, yours is?
I'm at Virginia Reyna.
And of course, yeah, if you throw @Virginia Reyna, @CougarTweets, or at AfterBuzz TV, we will respond and reply to your comments. We want to know what you think about what's going down in these episodes.
Yes, we do, because right now it's just you and I.
Yeah, we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
But we're old friends.
Exactly. So
it's pretty easy.
It's all good.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so we'll go into the runway.
The runway. It was an okay runway.
It was, yeah. What was interesting about this runway was the fact that we had a couple special guests.
We did.
Katie Holmes made another appearance. You know, she was on actually just a few episodes ago, I think within the last month. She's got all that cred now for being a designer. You know, her Holmes
and Yang.
Yeah, and then we had another guy named Carmen Marcavallo, who I've never heard of, whose dresses they really showed very briefly on some different celebrities like Beyonce and I don't know why I was about to say Molly Ringwald, but no, Kate Winslet. And I had no idea who this guy was.
I wasn't that impressed.
They really showed that they showed those images of his dresses real quick because they were not that great. Sorry, Carmen, you know, to dog you, but I didn't really know why you were there next to Katie Holmes. I'm sorry.
I liked him as a judge, though.
Yeah. Well, you know what I could tell about his personality as a judge is he knew that nobody knows who he is, so he decided to really make some bold statements and try to be like, you know, you did a good job, and all these things to kind of give himself a little maybe credibility or something like that. So we had these two special guests. And the runway was a very complimentary runway.
It was. And, you know, it had to be complimentary because they were doing it for, you know, the veterans, and they didn't, and they were wearing these dresses out to an event, so they couldn't be too harsh.
Sure.
But we did kind of get to see a little bit of the harshness, and I loved Isaac in this one when he was talking to Georgina. He really like laid the smackdown on her.
The gloves were gonna come off between Isaac Mizrahi and Georgina Chapman.
Yes, love it.
Well, let's talk about when they each came down. What did you think about each dress? Which started out? It started out with.
It started out with Uli, and
right.
you know, pretty dress. I mean, she, you know, what did they say? It was something about how was it Uli that said?
Uli made me chuckle because she said that the her service woman belonged on the runway.
Right, and the walk, not the best walk,
yeah,
but you know, she looked cute. She looked happy, satisfied customer. I felt
very satisfied customer.
Emilio, that yellow was just so yellow. And
now I'm not going to hate on that yellow because it is the AfterBuzz yellow.
It is the AfterBuzz yellow.
If you didn't watch the episode, you want to know what yellow he was using. It's this one right here.
Right. But
I can't hate on that because it really works well with that skin tone, and I think that's kind of what happened with the last episode that you didn't get to see. Josh McKinley chose a really, really bright pink, and it worked amazing with his black model. So,
it pops. The color pops, but I feel like that was its only savior.
Yeah.
And that can't, I think that's probably why I'm so against it, is because everything else was so bad. The strap in the back was a little crooked.
Yeah.
The hemline was I mean, it's a Vegas dress. It should have been a little bit
It was Vegas
shorter.
dress. It was fitted, but too fitted because it started to bunch, and it bunched as she moved right around her bust area here.
And no girl wants that.
No girl wants that. The strap in the back was so tight that it was, you know, pinching her skin up under her armpit. It was a terribly executed design, and the only good comment the judges had about it was that it was a great color.
Yeah.
And they said that multiple times.
Exactly.
I think they said that multiple times because that's all they could come up with.
But it was poorly executed. But in his defense, he did spend like half of the episode making a completely other dress.
Yeah.
So
that actually goes in his. I wouldn't even defend him with that. This was a terrible move on his part. He probably should have gone with whatever he had first and stuck to it.
exactly.
And I think we've seen that, I know we've seen that over and over again with these designers on Project Runway. If they just change direction, mid-course, more often than not, it turns out to be terrible.
Exactly. So if you're watching and if you're going to be on the next episode or season, just go with your gut. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Don't change it up in the middle.
You know what, actually, this is a good sales point. All of you out there, whoever's thinking about being on Project Runway, you should just listen to us for
Listen
the
to us.
advice, because we know what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're super fans. We watch it all.
We are super fans. And we're actually in fashion, too.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So next we had Anthony Ryan, and I wrote down awful, but here's the thing. I have big boobs myself, so I would never wear something straight across, but I'm in fashion, so I know anything like that is just going to make me look ridiculous, and it's going to make me look like I have a uniboob, and then putting another strap under it is awful. And he started off without the straps, and that's just not possible. She was like, oh, I'm going to have to wear a strapless bra. Well, yeah, you have huge boobs. You're going to have to wear a strapless bra. Any girl knows, over a size C, you're wearing a strapless bra with a dress like that.
Now, this is where I would love your feedback as a woman.
My double divas.
Your double divas. Just as a woman in general, if we talk about Anthony Ryan's design and his dress, he did start out without the straps, but she definitely needed more, lift, right?
Support.
And then had he not put the additional line underneath her bosoms, it would have looked like she was pregnant. It would have been this huge flowy dress that just would not have worked in that way either. So he kind of, with his design, he was caught between a rock and a hard place as far as serving her body type. Now, we have to mention that I think of all the designers, he really did try to stick to her wishes. She wanted to minimize, this area up here. She's called herself a boob hider. So that's what he was trying to do. What do you think he could have done, or what for a woman that has a shape like you and a shape like the service woman that with Donna, his particular model, what would have been a good fit or a good cut on a dress for a 40th birthday party, something that wouldn't make you look ridiculous or have that uniboob you were talking about?
Well, anytime if he would have maybe even done a sweetheart neckline, it would have given a little bit of a curve. Anytime I wear something strapless, I almost always go with a sweetheart neckline. And if for those of you that don't know, it basically just makes like a little heart right above, so it makes it look more shapely. But honestly, I would have done something with like a thicker strap that creates a V, so it kind of,
He did have two thin straps that were almost, they were bunching a little bit.
They were, but they also were they were kind of doing that, but if it would have been more, I don't know, just like a thicker, anything that gives you that V like you're going in, that would have helped. And then it would have just created a stronger silhouette, and just that is the worst thing you can do. And then when he was putting that band across the bottom, anything it was like a double wide. Like, you don't ever want to create a horizontal on your body. That just makes you look wider.
Yeah.
And so what I originally thought he was doing was like, oh wow, this is going to be great. I thought he was putting the bands on the side just a little bit to pull the fabric together, and then pleating the front
would have been
slightly,
great, yeah.
Which would have made it, give it some shape. But yeah, what he did, I was very sad.
Yeah. He gave her a uniboob.
He gave her a uniboob.
He really did. Okay, is that all of them?
Oh no, and then we had Josh.
Oh, and then Josh, yeah.
Which was the cute dress. She looked very confident in it, and that's why I think it worked so well, because she was happy.
And she had the dog.
And she had the dog,
Isaac. Dog named Isaac, which of course Isaac Mizrahi loved, and Josh made a little almost matching outfit for the dog, her service dog. Yeah, and she came out, she strutted her stuff, she looked great. I really did like, the one thing that I usually don't really notice that much is the hair and makeup by Laura Mercier, and I loved all of the hair and makeup on this particular episode.
Yeah, I felt like the one that was a little bit off might have been Donna's, because she looked a little uncomfortable with the kind of rocker mohawk
she
that
had
he
a
gave
rocker
her.
hawk, and I loved it.
I thought that looked great.
Donna, you're probably not watching this right now, but if anybody does know Donna out there, you looked hot as hell with that rocker hawk, and you should definitely rock that more often.
Yep.
Although you should probably have to go to a salon for something like that.
Probably, but I mean that really isn't that hard. I think you would just have to do a little bit of teasing and then slick it back with some pins.
Yeah.
And you can find it, ladies. You can find that on Pinterest or anything like that.
Obviously, I don't have enough hair to actually know or have ever considered doing that before. But
you know, I never consider doing anything with my hair. I'm just kind of a little bit boring about it. So yeah. I agree. I might have to go to a salon for the rocker hawk
I
as
think
well.
that you don't have anything to worry about.
Thanks, Goose.
So let's, the commentary, those were all the different looks that came down the runway. The commentary came up next, and immediately we knew that our tops were Josh and Uli, and of course that means our bottoms were Emilio and Anthony Ryan. The commentary about them all really kind of it upset me. Like, I wish that I could have jumped through the screen and, gotten into the fray with these different judges. Starting with, who was the first one they talked about? Was it Josh?
I didn't write that
Okay,
down
so
in
let's
the
just,
order.
we'll go off the cuff. Starting with Josh, everybody was really happy with Josh's design and, how cute it was, how perfect it was for his model. And I thought, I just felt like they were giving him too much leeway because his brother was in Afghanistan and he did maybe have that connection with her at the beginning of the show. The dress was way too junior for her. And if you looked up at the screen when she was during the presentation, he had added this little belt of like leopard around her waist, which gave her a little pooch. And I was like, I knew that they weren't going to call her out on having a little pooch, but I'm like, it was so obvious, that she's got a little tummy area now.
Yeah.
So I didn't like his dress at all. I thought it was okay, but it just did not fit.
Yeah, and Georgina had made a comment. She didn't say you have a pooch, but she said I would have preferred to see it as a dress, not as a two-piece. So I don't know if it was a two-piece. They never really, well, no, I guess they did show that because they had the skirt on the dress form. And so I kind of agree it probably would have, made it.
And for a ball, this was a military ball. Georgina Chapman hit that right on the head, that it should have been a dress.
It should have.
And not a playful skirt with some leopard trim.
Well, what threw me off was the guest judge, Carmen
Valvo, yeah.
He said, did you mean to show your prosthetic leg?
Yeah, and I think he stuck his foot in his mouth right there because she was like, yeah, of course,
Yeah, I was kind of like,
and then he was like, I'm glad you made that decision. I'm like, who are you, Carmen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just so bizarre to me.
It was really awkward.
And what if she would have said no? And then, you could tell she liked the dress. So why would you ask that question?
Yeah. Very awkward moment in time with that guy. That's another moment where I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Okay. So then we also have.
Uli was in the top.
Uli. And, that's what made me that's what kind of made me mad. Josh's dress, not that cute. Uli's dress, really cute, and she didn't win, all because Josh had this connection.
Oh my God! So Josh McKinley wins, and I did not understand that at all.
You know what I thought was funny was Katie Holmes had mentioned how she wished that Uli would have put a feather because Isaac and Georgina were like, oh, that embellishment's kind of eh.
Mm-hmm.
And then Isaac had said, oh, she's the queen of feathers. And Katie was like, yeah, I've been watching. And I thought that was kind of funny that she kind of just threw that at them. Like, yeah, I'm watching the show. But when is she watching the show?
For all of you Project Runway fans out there, that comment from Katie Holmes made zero sense because it's not like she could. I guess maybe she watched season 3 and knew the feathers because Uli has used a lot of feathers in this particular season. Right. I don't remember her using tons of feathers in her original season.
I don't either.
So it was a little awkward because it's not like they watch the shows as they occur.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So that's what I thought. It was filmed before. How could you have watched? But maybe she gets, I don't know.
But they were dogging on Uli's use of embellishment around her models right between her cleavage there. I thought it was fine. It didn't really bother me, and they really did harp on it. I thought Uli's was above and beyond better than Josh's.
Right, and so maybe they just edited that so that they could say there was this problem and that's why Josh won, but still, Uli was the winner in my mind.
Yeah. Yep, I am in total agreement with you there. So our bottom, Emilio and Anthony Ryan, this was surprising. To me, not just because, it wasn't surprising because of what Anthony Ryan had put together because it wasn't his best, but it was also Anthony Ryan, and he's been in the top for like the last 5 weeks.
Well, not only that, it's what the customer asked for.
Yeah, and this is where I really wanted to jump in on the episode and have a war of words, was because Carolyn Murphy, Georgina, Katie Holmes, they were all dogging Anthony Ryan for what he created, but it's exactly what she wanted. And that was part of, they said at the beginning of the show that we're going to be judging you on how well you respond to your client. And he responded to his client. She liked it. She was comfortable in it. She felt sexy. And yeah, I don't know, for some reason those were whatever.
Well, and that's when you see, Georgina Chapman say, well, as a designer, he should have done this. And then Isaac was like, well, you as a designer should have done this. And I was like, ooh.
Isaac Mizrahi was about to put the smackdown on Georgina Chapman. Isaac Mizrahi is a designer. Georgina Chapman is rich. And
no, she's a designer. She's part of the team of Marchesa.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he was throwing it in her face.
I think she's more of a decision maker.
Well, I agree, but I think that's why he was like, no, you as a designer, kind of like, aren't you a designer also?
Yeah.
Kind of, but not really.
Yeah, because
so they kept, that was a little.
It was. Even when they were doing the review on the runway and they had Donna out there, I felt uncomfortable for her because they kept harping on how she should show off her breast, how they should show off her curves and things like that. That's not what she wanted. And it's not what she, wanted for her 40th birthday and things like that. And they're like, oh, a good designer would have made this beautiful, elegant dress that showed off her curves, but that's not what she wanted.
Exactly.
So I was on Team Isaac for this one, and it became a little war of words there. I hope you guys caught that.
Yeah, and I mean, but if you think about it, Marchesa dresses, they're all really girly, really feminine. I don't really know who could wear them other than really thin models, celebrities, that type of thing. But then you look at Isaac Mizrahi's clothes, those are wearable. Sure. Real women can wear them. And like he just did that new line that we got to see, which was awesome.
Yeah, with Chevy Malibu, the real women.
Yeah, and so I think possibly that's why he could relate a little bit more, because he did design for real women.
Sure. Very true. Now we've got Anthony Ryan and Emilio in the bottom. I just want to mention, this was the big qualm that I had with this particular episode, was that there was a double standard between Anthony Ryan, serving his client, and Josh serving his client. Everybody was so, happy with Josh serving, and what he came up with, because it's what the client wanted. But because Anthony Ryan, didn't do what the judges wanted, he was in the bottom. He didn't deserve to be in the bottom in my
No, I don't think so either. I think really the only person in my mind that was in the bottom was Emilio.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Bum. Do you want to give away what happened at the end of the episode? You've got your two bottoms. There's so much suspense built up. And then...
Well, I was about to get really, really pissed if Emilio wasn't sent home. Like, super, super pissed. I was like, if Anthony Ryan is sent home, I will protest the rest of the season. I mean, that's how it was coming to. And then they say, okay, Anthony Ryan, you're safe. And then
and let me just mention, if you could be in the room with Virginia and I, and just usually like when we're watching the show with Lo and Alina, I get animated, I'm ready to throw stuff, Virginia's ready to throw stuff. Lo and Alina, they're pretty chill, but like we get into it, and we really, I think at this point, we were both like just ready to pick up something and hurl it at the TV.
My pistachios.
If Anthony Ryan went home, it would have been the end of something.
Yeah, so I wrote down out and then made a little whatever.
I also did that as well. I circled Emilio's name out.
Yeah, well, I wrote Emilio, and then I scratched it out, and I wrote Bullshiza, because I don't think they both should have been safe. I mean, I understand because they were both safe.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The judges, they were on this like split decision. We don't know what to do, and that became the cliffhanger of a moment before the commercial break. So, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
And that's when I started feeling like, oh my gosh, if Anthony Ryan goes home, I'm going to be really, really, really upset. Mm-hmm. And then we get this, okay, nobody's going home. We can't figure it out.
Which was total, as you put it, bullshisa.
It was. But I think there was two reasons they did that. One, okay, maybe they couldn't make up their minds. But two, could you imagine being the woman wearing the dress to your event when they're like, oh, but this actually got my person out? How horrible would you feel?
Yeah, and that definitely goes back to what we were saying earlier. There, right when we first started our little recap, they had to be really nice. I mean, they were working with 4 real women who were going to wear these out to, their events. So I definitely agree. I think you probably hit it right on the head. You couldn't eliminate somebody because that would make their model feel really bad. Now, had they eliminated Emilio, I don't think that his model would have wore his dress to Vegas anyway.
That's possible.
I think that's highly probable that when she went to that bachelorette party, she probably wore something that wasn't, yellow, screaming yellow, and awfully designed like it was made at home by your mom.
Well, and the other thing is, usually when they get down to the final 3 or 4 every season, they let someone stay, and then they do the hometown challenge and everything else that you see. So I wasn't really that surprised.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
Going into our next couple, our last episodes.
I'm so jealous. They get to go to Paris.
They get to go to Paris, and it will be the final 4 again of Emilio, Uli, Josh, and Anthony Ryan.
They get to go to the House of Valentino.
Which absolutely made me seething with jealousy because I have so much respect for Valentino.
And they kept mentioning couture, couture, couture. So I'm only wondering, are they getting to go to the couture shows in Paris?
I don't know what they're going to be doing there, but I feel like Runway next week is going to be a couture show. They're going to have to do a couture dress in the style of Valentino, perhaps. And the sound bites that they gave us weren't that flattering from the judges in their responses on what the contestants were able to come up with.
And I did notice that Georgina Chapman was in a very ornate Marchesa, I can only assume it's Marchesa dress. And I'm just wondering, who do you think is going to be good at that?
Coming up with a
couture look. Like Uli, she only does flowy dresses. That might be a bit of a...
I think that Uli's going to be the best at coming up with a couture look because even though she only does flowy dresses, she does very intricate flowy dresses.
True.
And she can do them quickly. So, and especially with the trim and things like that. If you've ever have you watched Valentino's movie, The Last Emperor?
That's a great movie.
Great movie. And he really does ornate things with trims and a lot of beadwork and things like that. And I think that's Uli's, that's her strong point.
That is.
So versus everybody else, they always talk about Emilio and his background in costume work and how he's dressed all of these celebrities. Emilio hasn't dressed like any, we know about the one Tony Award winner that who was that? I don't know. I mean, somebody out there in the world of musicals and stuff knows who that is, but not us. Not us. But maybe he's going to. I haven't seen him do anything couture-like. Maybe that will be his strong suit challenge right there. I don't know.
Yeah, we shall see.
We shall see. And then Josh, I'm not really seeing him pull out something couture. I don't know. Anthony Ryan, I think, will do a fabulous job with the couture challenge too.
I'm really excited.
I think he'll do something a little bit. I think that it'll actually go back to Anthony Ryan and Uli being in the top 2.
I hope so.
And I think that if I had to make a prediction, it's prediction time.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Virginia, prediction, go.
I think Emilio's going home.
Emilio.
The costume designer himself.
I think I have to disagree. I think it's going to be Josh. I think it will be Josh McKinley.
From the top to the bottom, huh?
Yeah. I think that Josh, I actually picked him to go home tonight, and I really still think
he won.
And he won, and I still don't understand how he won. I actually would have still sent him home anyways.
Awesome.
Not that I hate Josh McKinley, but what is he wearing on every episode?
Yeah,
let's talk about that for a minute.
He should go home based on what he's wearing.
Yeah, his outfits and what he wears out, I have no idea what he's.
Yeah, can you talk to him about that, please?
Yeah, I'll send him. I'll tweet him.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us again. See us next week and continue the conversation going. Follow me at Virginia Reyna.
And follow me at Cougar Tweets.
All right, see y'all next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.